Hello everyone, and welcome to my video where I'm going to be dealing with a secondary school grammar lesson, and as the title suggests, it's going to be on English conditional sentences. Now, before we proceed any further, I would like to point out that the students to whom this lesson is supposed to be delivered are meant to be familiar with the fundamentals. They're supposed to have already grasped the basics peculiar to this lesson, for they've already been introduced to zero and first conditionals. So this lesson is supposed to be a follow-up lesson where I'm going to be covering or giving a review of all four conditionals. Now, with this in mind, I believe we shall carry on, and let me just point out or draw your attention to the fact that in English grammar, there are four conditionals. There are four conditionals, or conditionals come in four types, numbered 0 through 3. So we've got the zero conditional, the first conditional, the second conditional, and the third conditional. They can be tricky, they can be nuanced, they can be a bit complex, yes, in terms of structure, in terms of verb tense or verb form and meaning or use, but you don't have to worry because we will try to reason out some useful distinctions, rules, so that you'll never get lost, you never get off track. I'm just hoping you stick around. Now, just so you get a sense of how we're going to be proceeding, I would like to walk you through the lesson plan or the lesson outline. And by the way, this is the part of the lesson where the learning objectives are incidentally articulated for you to pick up on or to spot. And this is very important for a proper self-assessment, right? Now, as you might notice here, we start with the preliminaries, and I would like to lay the groundwork by first reviewing or jogging your memories about zero and first conditionals. Then I would like to warm up or to tease the flesh or the crux of today's lesson, which revolves mainly around the second and the third conditionals. Now, then after I've primed you, it comes time for me to introduce the second and third conditionals, second and third conditional sentences, and the lesson starts to take shape as we work out some relevant examples, as we look at the basic structure, unpack the uses or functions of each, and build the roof for conditional sentence formation. And before we move on to the practice portion, I would like to familiarize you with some useful terms and make sure your ED pronunciation is accurate or meticulous. All right. So, thinking caps on, let's get started. I would like to take our reviewing of the zero and first conditionals one step at a time. All right? So what do we notice about these examples? If the sun sets, it gets dark. If you call me, I will answer the phone. So first, structure-wise, we see that the if conjunction here is the pivotal aspect. The if here is actually the recurrent element, and we realize that it is through this conjunction that we can join thoughts and come up with a state of condition with a conditional, actual conditional. All right. We also can also notice that our sentences here are made up of two clauses: an if clause and a main clause, the condition clause and the outcome or result clause. We can also see that we can swap these clauses around, it would still make sense. Also, when or with the outcome clause going first, we see that the comma is dropped. So the comma is left out of the sentence, right? Great. This is for the structure. Now, meaning-wise, we must know that conditionals can do different things. Conditionals can actually do different things, and they can be different. They can carry different meanings. All right. So here, each conditional has its own purpose. Each conditional has its own purpose. If the sun sets, it gets dark. The thought we're trying to convey here goes under the category of facts, right? Of general truth. Some truths that we cannot really debate because they are just general, they're regular, they happen, they stand to reason, they are self-evident, right? They just go without saying. So for example, if I drop the ball, it falls to the ground. If you don't eat up your cereal quickly, it gets soggy. It goes soggy, really, trust me. And you don't want to do this. You don't want to start your day off on the wrong foot, right? If you don't fold your laundry, it stucks up to the ceiling. And this is a fact too. All right. Now, for the first conditional, we're trying to denote an event that can actually happen, that can happen really, dependent on the condition being met. All right? It depends on the condition being met. Now, we can draw a distinction here, so you can take it as a tip here. We see that here in the zero conditionals, we're talking about things that are possible, but they are general. We can see that they are general in life, right? So they just happen. They don't need a context. They don't need to be seen in real life. You cannot be witnessed in real life. While for the first conditional here, we're trying to talk about events that are related to the real world. So they are contextualized, they're context sensitive, they have a background to them. All right? So this is for our zero and first conditionals. This is everything we said about it. Now, I would like to move on to the warm-up portion. And to be honest, the fact is that here my anticipatory set is all about as imagining. So when I might have previously asked such questions as what actually happens or what will happen if this happens, now I'm prompting you to answer questions like, what would you do if you won a lottery? What would you do if you won a lottery? That's an amazing question. That's a theoretical question, right? And of course, we're spoiled for choice here. I would myself go shopping. I would buy a car. I would buy a boat. I would backpack around the world. I would lead a healthier lifestyle. You know, there are many habits that can actually burden against the backdrop of wealth, so we just have to make the right choice, right? So this is our first prompt. What would you do if you won a lottery? What would you do? What would you do if you won a lottery? You would go shopping, you would backpack around the world, right? All right, now let me just shake that brain brush one more time and ask you another question here. And I would like you to imagine what would have happened if the Egyptians had not built the pyramids. What would have happened if the Egyptians had not built the pyramids? Here, maybe, I would say maybe the Egyptians would have build something else instead, like a giant statue of a pharaoh. Maybe, all right, this is another way of looking at it. All right, maybe archaeologists wouldn't have discovered so much about ancient Egyptian culture, right? And this is very likely. Now, if we want to look at these prompts, these two situations here, see that we are imagining, right? In both prompts, we are imagining. It's pure speculation. Nothing of this is true. But what we're doing here in the first, or what we're doing here with the first prompt, has to do more with the future. It has to do with the future. So this is a life event that we wish would unfold in the future, but it's just so unlikely. All right, so unlikely to happen. All right, it's the future, we want it to happen, but it can't. It's not impossible, but it's unlikely. So the odds for it to actually happen are just slightly above zero and not a chance, right? However, with the second prompt, what we're doing is a bit different. So what we're doing here has to do more with the oops, too late notion, all right? We're imagining things. All right, what we're actually doing here is that we're imagining a past that is different to the one that actually happened, right? So we are imagining a past situation and imagining the outcome of this imaginary situation. So it's all imaginary in the past. Let's delve into this and look at some examples here. I'd like us to look at these examples and to go through the same motions as in the first two conditionals. So what do we notice about these structure-wise? So in terms of structure, we see that nothing changes except for the verb tense. Nothing changes except for the tenses, right? Now, use-wise, or in terms of meaning, we believe we are being hypothetical in both conditionals, or in both structures. So these are hypothetical structures, right? They are unreal, be it in the future or the past. It's unreal. But what's important here, what's to note here, is that in the second conditional, or there are more uses to the second conditional than in the third. All right, so there are more uses to the second than the third conditional, and we're going to look at the first example here. If I won the lottery, I would fundraise for cancer care and research, and yeah. If I won the lottery, I would fundraise for cancer care. We see that it's almost the same as the first example the first prompt. And here we're still looking, or still talking about the future. We are talking about the future here. This is the regular thing here. We're dreaming. They say it's for the dreamers. This conditional is for the dreamers, right? So if I won the lottery, I would fundraise for cancer care. It has to do with the future. So we're imagining a life scenario in the future that is just unlikely. If I were older, I would have more wisdom and life experiences. If I were older, I would have more wisdom and life experiences. Now, if I were older, I cannot be older, right? If I were younger, I cannot be younger now. If I were taller, I cannot be taller. So there's no way I can change the current situation, my present here. So here I'm imagining a situation in the present, or I imagine it a something that is just impossible in the present. This event is just impossible in the present. Okay, so this is another use of the second conditional. All right, the third use here is introduced by this example. If I were this sick, I would definitely go to the doctor. If I were this sick, I would definitely go to the doctor. So here I'm trying to look at someone else's situation, but while talking about myself, right? So it goes, I'm trying to get at something. It goes more in the sense that if I were you, I would definitely go to the doctor. I wouldn't waste more time, right? So it's passing a comment that implies advice given. So I'm advising this person. I'm trying to position or to put myself in the shoes of that person's shoes, and I'm passing that comment on that ground. All right? Now, if I were not so swamped with work at the moment, I would help you with the paperwork. This is another one. This is another use, and this is very useful. This is very useful, and it's conveyed through this second conditional. If I were not so swamped with work at the moment, I would help you with the paperwork. So I'm trying to account for the situation. I'm trying to explain why this is the case. I'm trying to explain why I cannot help you with the paperwork right now. Right? I'm trying to have to explain so that no more explanation would be needed, right? So this is for our second conditional sentences. Now, moving to the third conditional sentences, it's clear that we are talking about the past. We are thinking about the past. We're imagining a different past. If I tried to reproduce the same, almost the same example here with the lottery. So if I had won the money, I would have fundraised for cancer care. So it's all in the past, right? Another example: if you had tucked away your personal belongings in a safer place, they would have remained intact. Now you just probably ended up with them being damaged or something. If you heeded my advice, none of that would have happened. So this goes more in the sense of I told you so, right? All right. So now let's just go through those points in a clear way. So the structure here. As we said earlier, it's an if clause followed by comma and then a main clause. We can swap them around and drop the comma. For the uses, we can see that they're both hypothetical structures and are used to speak about unreal life events. So this is what we've been saying. The present, so the second conditional sentences and third conditional sentences. Here we see that for the second conditional, we are imagining scenarios, life scenarios that are impossible in the present or unlikely in the future. We can use the second conditional to give advice and to account for a specific situation. For our third conditional, we are simply speaking about a different past. We're imagining a past outcome that could have happened but did not actually happen. It makes sense, I hope. It does, right? Now we move to the formation of our second and third conditional sentences. This is very important. This is very important. The mastery of this can help this can help you express yourself, or can help you express yourselves properly. Second, for the second conditional, we see that it is formed by the past simple and the if clause, followed by comma, and then with the base form, and the base form. Third conditional, for the third conditional sentences, here it is formed by the past perfect and the if clause. The past perfect, which is which is in turn formed by had and the past participle. So it is the past perfect in the if clause followed by comma, and then would have and the past participle of the verb. Now we move to this portion of our lesson where I want to familiarize you with some, or what I would like to help you build on the vocabulary with which we have already been presented in this in the lesson. So we talked about possibilities, or the likelihood of this happening, this not happening. So here's a list of synonyms, and then the list of the opposite terms. So we can see that, we can look and see many words or many terms that can actually help us express how this works. So we can say possible, or probable, or likely, or plausible, or tenable. The opposite of these would be impossible, such words as impossible, improbable, unlikely, inconceivable, implausible, and far-fetched. So all these are adjectives that can someday be thrown your way, and this could be your only way out. So yeah. Now we will look at some pronunciation. Let's pronounce ed endings. Now you might notice that this is important. This is key to our lesson here, because the past, or the past tenses here, are the operational tenses. So we will have to master this, right? And here's a tip for you, a little bit of a trick, all right? So I want to familiarize you, I want to help to introduce you to the voice consonant and voice consonant notion here. So when we say that a consonant is voiced, we mean that this consonant is produced with vibration, all right, with vibration in the vocal cords. It's produced with a humming sound in the throat. This is what we mean by a voiced consonant. For the unvoiced consonants, we would label them unvoiced mainly because they come out smoothly without vibration. For example, k, k, so there's no vibration, right? However, when we say, or when g or b or d comes out, there's a humming sound there. All right. So after voiced consonants, the ed is pronounced simply as the. After the unvoiced consonants, the ed is pronounced as t. And finally, with the t and d consonants, we're simply pronouncing ed as it. All right, let's look at some examples here. All right, played, robbed, robbed, tinkered, tinkered, helped, helped, watched, watched, cooked, cooked, needed, needed, wanted, wanted. I hope that was accurate. Now, here's our last portion of the lesson, and we'll be practicing. So this practice or this activity is meant to help you to help you form, drill or repeat, and then juggle. We'll see. So let me first read out a situation to you. All right. So imagine you're planning a picnic with your friends, but the weather forecast is uncertain. You do not know if it's going to be an indoor or outdoor picnic yet. It all depends on the weather. Now, you want to express a condition based on the weather. Imagine you're planning a picnic with your friends, but the weather forecast is uncertain. You do not know if it's going to be an indoor or outdoor picnic yet. It all depends on the weather. You want to express a condition based on the weather. So you'll have to form first. If it rains, what do you think will happen if it rains? If it rains, it'll be either this or that. Correct. If it rains, we will have an indoor picnic. We cannot have an outdoor picnic, right? All right, now I want you to repeat this. If it rains, we will have an indoor picnic. If it rains, we will have an indoor picnic. If it rains, we will have an indoor picnic. Now, here's the last part of our activity, which is about juggling. Now, juggling here is to transform, all right, the first conditional here into the second and the third conditionals. So that would be, if it rained, we would have an indoor picnic. If it had rained, we would have had an indoor picnic. If it rains, we will have an indoor picnic. If it rained, we would have an indoor picnic. If it had rained, we would have had an indoor picnic. I hope that was clear. That's it for today's lesson. Now that we have come to the end of our lesson, I would like to thank you